I'm heading down the strip on a beautiful Tuesday evening in Las Vegas, Nevada. Today we're going to be playing poker at the Wynn/Encore Casino, one of the best casinos to play poker at here on the strip. My plan is to play 5-10 no limit. However, when I get there, there's only one table with 9 players on the list, but there is a seat open at the 10, 20, 40 game uncapped buy-in. I decided to test myself and play with the big boys and sit down with $5,000. Shortly after getting my chips, I look around the table and realize, damn, I'm the worst player at this table. Every single seat is filled with a very tough Vegas professional poker player who plays this game regularly. I'm a newbie here. I don't normally play these stakes very often. These guys have a huge edge over me. Maybe I should just go play 2-5 no limit, or I should battle it out and test myself. And that's what I decided to do. I sit down, $5,000 in my stack. Let's get started. We play this stand-up game a ton during this session, trying to increase the action. It's actually the button game here. If you get a little brown button, that means you won a hand. It's a $200 per person penalty. So that's $1,600 if you lose a stand-up game. The first stand-up game I won with King 10 offsuit. In this hand, I've got pocket kings. There's a button open. I 3-bet out of the small blind, and he folds, and we win this one. Then this leads into our first interesting hand of the night here with King Jack offsuit. I raise to $100 in middle position. The next act player in the hijack makes a call, who still needs to win a hand to get a button. The button player, who still also needs to get a brown button, makes the call, and the straddle calls were 4 ways to King 10 6 2 spades. Top pair for us. I don't expect any of my opponents to have better kings than me, because they would most likely 3-bet those hands pre-flop. Could be up against a set of 6s or 2 pair here, but I'm going to bet and make it $300. Hijack makes to call, button makes to call, but the straddle makes to fold. Terrible turn card for us with the 7 of spades. 2 pairs get there, straights get there, flushes get there. I am not going to be putting any more money in this pot, so I check. Hijack player checks, and the button checks behind. Interesting. Now the river is good for us. It's the king of diamonds, now giving us trips. Maybe I will be putting more money in this pot after all. I consider leading out here, but ultimately I decide to check. Given the fact that both of these guys have to win a hand to get their button for the stand-up game, I think it's better to check, allow them to bluff, than me to try to bet and go for thin value. Well, the hijack player checks right after me, but the button does not check. He fires out a $900 river bet here. After under-repping my hand with a check on the river, I'm never going to be folding to this $900 bet, but maybe I could raise for value, try to get called by a worse King X hand. After thinking that over for about 20 seconds, I think that would just be a little bit too thin on this board multi-way, so I just flick in the $1,000 chip for a call. Hijack folds, and the button shows Queen 5 of spades for a flush. Well played by him. He checks on the turn, gets a perfect river for me to pay him off, and we lose a little over $1,000 in this hand. I reach into my pocket and add on another $2,000 in the game for $7,000 now. Over the next hour and a half, I basically lose every single hand I play. I fold throughout the blinds, the straddles, the big blind, the small blind comes around, and I just lose a lot of small pots. I also lose the stand-up game here when I'm heads up the King 10 offsuit, so I have to pay every single person at the table $200. That's a $1,600 penalty, and now I'm left with a stack of 2.6K. I'm extremely short stacked for this game. The $40 straddle's on, so I have less than 100 big blinds. Normally, I would never sit in a game with less than 100 big blinds. I would always add on to my stack, but I just wasn't feeling it today. I didn't want to add on anymore and lose a big pot against these super tough Vegas pros. I decided I'm not going to add on any extra money. If I lose this 2.5K, I'll go home. I'm going to try to just double this up and run it up from there. Right after I make this decision not to add on, I get dealt in King Queen of diamonds. Button raises to $100. I 3-bet out of the small blind to $400, and he makes the call. Heads up out of position to 4-3-4 with 2 diamonds, flopping a flush draw for me. I continue for $500, and the button calls. Turn gives me a flush with the 10 of diamonds. I've got $1,600 left. It is all going in, and my opponent makes a pretty quick call. I show my hand right away, and the river doesn't change anything, and our flush is good. Just like that, we double up. Now we have over a $5,000 stack. Somewhat kicking myself for not adding on. Maybe we could have won a bigger pot, but it sounds like my opponent was drawing dead when he called there on the turn, so maybe he gave me a little light action because I was short stacked. Next hand, I've got pocket eights. I raise here on the hijack to 120. Button 3 bets me to 400, and oh yeah, we're playing another stand-up game, and I don't have a button yet. I would normally just call this raise here out of position, looking to hit a set, but given the fact that the stand-up game's on, I got $5,000 in my stack. I am not losing this one. I go all in for 5K. Button folds. I show my hand. I get the button, and no $1,600 penalty paid for us this round. There is 6 players with the stand-up brown button and 3 players who have yet to win a hand. I think they're getting a little bit desperate. One of the players who hasn't won a hand puts on the $80 straddle. I peel back kings and raise to 220 in the cutoff. The button 3 bets me to 660, and now the small blind goes into the tank and eventually folds. Action back over on me. I have to decide how do I want to play my pocket kings here. Versus a cutoff and button 3 bet, my opponent probably is going to have a pretty wide range. I could just jam all in for around $6,000, given the fact that the $80 straddle is on. It's less than 100 big blinds, but I feel like my opponent could fold out all those weaker hands if I jam all in. I think the best option here is just a 4-bet to a non-all-in sizing, giving him the option to potentially 5-bet jam over me if he does have a big pocket pair, or to give him a good price to call with his weaker hands. So I make it $1,620. Back over on the button, who makes the call. So we're going heads up here out of position. 4-bet pot over $3,000 in the middle. I'm trying to get all in on this flop until I see the dreaded ace high board. God, always with kings. The ace comes on the flop. I do decide to continue here with an $800 c-bet. Just kind of like a range bet, thinking I can still get called by worse hands. The button does call me, and the turn card is the queen. Not really sure what I should do here. Should I bet small? Should I check? Ultimately, I check over to him, and luckily he checks back. River 3 of diamonds. I think it's too thin to bet here on the river in a 4-bet pot. Ace on the board. So I check again. He instantly checks back, and kings are good to take down over $4,000 in the middle in this hand. A pretty sick run-up. In a matter of about an hour, I went from a 2.5K stack to an 8.5K stack. I was down around $5,000. Now I'm up $1,500. Should I leave? No, not yet. I'm going to keep grinding and battling out this game. I end up shortly regretting not leaving when I was ahead when I lose a bunch of small pots. Also lose another stand-up game, so that $1,600 penalty for us. We're down to a $5,000 stack. In for 7K, down $2,000 on the day. But it's very easy to get it back in this hand, and we do get back a little bit here with pocket kings. Early position makes it 100. I 3-bet to 330. Button 4 bets to 800. Early position player folds. Back over on me. $5,000. Kings. It's all going in the middle. I jam all in. He folds, and we win about $1,000 in this pot. Let's all do a little quiz here. What hand is better than pocket kings? You guys guessed it. Pocket aces. All right, cringy joke. Early position makes it 100. I 3-bet the cutoff to 350. The button, who has been 3-betting me and 4-betting me all day long, 4-bets me again to $1,000. Under the gun now folds back over on me. Pocket aces, best hand you can get pre-flop. I have $6,000 in my stack. Another decision for me. Do I just call here out of position? Do I 5-bet? Do I jam all in? It's kind of a close spot. I feel like with aces, we can definitely call and trap my opponent, allow him to potentially bluff, or keep him in there with weaker hands. If I jam, it's going to look extremely strong, so I decide to trap here, just call this 4-bet out of position. We go heads up to a Jack 10-5 2-spade board. I check over to the 4-better, and he continues for a $500 bet. This is not my favorite flop. He could obviously have some sets here. Pocket jacks and pocket 10s are likely, but given the fact that there's 2 spades on the board, I don't have the ace of spades. He could easily have ace king of spades, ace queen of spades, ace 5 of spades. I go back and forth whether I want to raise this $500 bet or just continue to trap and call. I do think if I had some bluffs here, like some straight and flush draws, I'd want to jam all in. Also, if I had a top pair or pocket queens, I may jam all in as well. So I'm just going to go with it here with pocket aces. I go all in for my $5,000. If I did have the ace of spades, I would probably just call, given the fact that I don't block him from having those flush draws. I'm just going to go with it. Hope he's got queens or kings or a jack or a straight and flush draw. Doesn't seem like he has any of those hands when he doesn't call right away. He thinks for a little bit of time and eventually gives his cards back to the dealer. Kind of kicking myself with this hand. Feel like I maybe misplayed this spot. Could have possibly jammed all in pre-flop. Could have 5-bet to 2.2k. Could have possibly just called on the flop, allowed him to keep bluffing on the turn, and then raised all in then. I don't know, it's kind of a close spot. Can't really complain though, we did take down over $1,500 with pocket aces. As you can see, we are picking up some hands, and another premium for us, ace-king offsuit, folds to the small blind who makes it 120, big blind folds. I 3-bet to $400, and the straddle back over to the small blind who 4-bets me to $1,300. Man, there is a lot of action on this table. Like I said, all of these players are extremely tough. They're going to be 3-betting and 4-betting and putting in big bets, trying to put you in tough spots. With ace-king offsuit here, I think it's close between calling and jamming all in. We've got about $7,000 in our stack, a little less than 200 big blinds. Given the fact that I'm in position, I think a call is fine. If I was out of position, I would definitely jam. But also given the fact that I think this player has a pretty big edge on me post-flop, I think I would just rather go all in here. He can have a super wide range of hands, small blind versus straddle. He could be bluffing with worse hands. He could fold out smaller pocket pairs. So I go for it. I jam all in, 5-bet for $7,000, and it works. When he snap folds and we take down over $1,000 here with ace-king. You may think that I'm exaggerating about this lineup for the video, but I'm not. This is the toughest game I've ever played, probably in my life. A lot of really, really good players. But luckily, though, 2 of the pros end up leaving, and one other pro sits down, along with a recreational player who sits down with $15,000. In this hand, an early position player makes it 100. The rec player calls, and the hijack, I've got pocket queens and bump it here to $550 in the big blind. Both of my opponents make the call, so we're playing a pot of over $1,500 with pocket queens, and another not-so-easy flop comes out. When it comes out king high, an overcard to our pair. Just because there is an overcard to my pair doesn't always mean my opponents have it either. I still think if I bet here, I can get called by worse hands, ace-high hands, gutshot straight draws, open-ended straight draws, 10x hands, 6x hands, so I make it $400. Initial raiser folds, but the hijack player makes the call. Turn card 3, I slow down and check, and he checks behind. River card's another 3, I check, he checks, and we win. With pocket queens, we are on a sun run heater now. We went from a $5,000 stack, and now after aces and kings and ace-king and queens, our stack has now gone all the way up to $10,500, profiting $3,500 on the night. It's now 2 a.m. and I have been grinding it out, battling against these tough players. I went from down $2,000 to up 1.5k to down 5k to now up $3,000. It's been a long, tough session. I'm going to take my profit and run and consider myself lucky not getting stacked by these Vegas pros. As you can see in this hand, I'm in the cutoff position and I decide I'm going to play 4 more hands on the night. The next hand, I get ace-4 offsuit and fold. The next hand after that, I get jack-deuce offsuit and fold. The hand after that, I get king-4 offsuit and fold. And my very last hand of the night, I get dealt in, pocket kings. Literally the last hand I was going to play, I pick up a premium. Kings, I raise to 100. The same guy who has just been relentlessly 3-betting me all night, 3-bets me to $300 next act. The recreational player on the button gets in there with a cold call for $300. I'm not messing around. I'm super deep stacked, over $10,000 deep. Pocket kings, I 4-bet to $1,400. Both my opponents make the call. Holy crap, $4,500 plus in the middle. Please, poker gods, do not let me get stacked on my very last hand. 3 ways to the flop, 4-bet pot, pocket kings to $993 2 hearts. Well, I think I like this board. There's no ace on the flop. I don't think they're going to have a 9. It's less likely because there's 2 9s out there. I feel pretty good about betting here with pocket kings, so I make it $1,200. Under the gun +1, who 3-bet me and called my 4-bet, calls $1,200. And the button, who called a 3-bet, called my 4-bet, calls $1,200 as well. Over $8,000 in the middle here with pocket kings, multi-way 4-bet pot. Can you think of a good turn card for us? I can. How about another 9 giving me a full house? These kind of spots I am just rarely in. Over $10,000 effective to start the hand. 4-bet pot, multi-way. I have to take my time here to figure out what I want to do. Obviously, betting seems like the right option, but I don't want to bet too big. I think betting big here would be a mistake. Want to keep my opponents in there with their ace-high hands, worse pocket pairs for worse full houses. So I decide to bet around 1/4 size of the pot. $2,200. Under the gun +1 very quickly folds his hand. Now the action's over here on the button. The recreational player who just sat down just about an hour ago, and he doesn't fold and he doesn't call either. He raises me to $4,600. What is going on here? Does he have a 9 for quads? Does he have aces? I mean, he really shouldn't be raising any hand here. This has got me in the blender a little bit. The truth of the matter is, if he's got quads or a slow played pocket aces and he's beating us, this is just our time to die. I guess last hand of the night, we might go broke. We might lose over a $20,000 pot. I am all in. As the dealer is counting out my chips, I realized that I slightly miscounted my stack pre-flop. I thought I had about $10,000, but it turns out I'm all in here for $8,200, which means I started the hand with around $12,000. The dealer gets to count. It's $8,200. It's $3,600 more to my opponent once he finds out the number. He makes a pretty quick call. Holy crap, we're playing a $24,000 pot here. My last hand of the night, I think I'm ahead, but maybe I'm getting coolered. He could have aces, he could have quads, maybe a worse pocket pair. This is the biggest pot I've ever played in my life. I have 100% of my own action. It's 2 a.m. at the Wynn in Las Vegas. A huge pot brewing here. Let's see what happens on the river.
Time's full of kings.
You have money.
You have money.
You
You have money.
That's what y'all say.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8,020. So you have this. 8,020.
Wow. Holy crap. The biggest pot I've ever played. I'm pretty shaky right now. The adrenaline is just pumping through my veins. The table is completely silent. After a big pot like that, you want to be respectful to the guy who lost the money. Wow, just insane. $24,000 pot, my very last hand of the night. Huge, huge spot for us. Huge profit, over $12,000 worth of profit in that hand. Now, I did tell myself that was my last hand before I got pocket kings, but in order to make it look like I wasn't hit and running against this guy, I decided to stay another 30 minutes for another dealer change, where I pick up more big pocket pairs, kings and queens, and I get lucky and win small pots with all them profiting another $1,000. It's now 2:30 a.m., Just about 4 hours ago, I was all the way down to a 2.5K stack, and I was all in with King, Queen of Diamonds, and now, 4 hours later, we have a $25,000 stack. After 6 hours of playing, I finally end up racking up my chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out for the night. Wow, what a poker session that was. Playing 10, 20, 40 here at the Wynn in Las Vegas, I profited $18,725 in 6 hours of playing, the biggest win I've ever had in my entire life. And I also played the biggest pot of my entire life tonight. But rewind back to the beginning. I sat down and the table was full of pros. The entire table had every single seat filled with a very good professional player, probably better than me, more experienced, had an edge on me. I was probably the worst player at the game, but I wanted to battle. I wanted to test myself. I wanted to try to learn. I was in the game for $7,000. I got all the way down to $2,500. I doubled up with king, queen of diamonds. I won some more pots, one with aces, one with kings, got some bluffs through, got back to even. Then I got up to a 10K stack. I'm just about to leave. My very last hand, I say to myself, this is it. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna take my 3K profit. I look down at king of clubs and king of spades. All right, we gotta play this hand. I raise, I get 3-bet, I 4-bet, go 3 ways with pocket kings, make a full house and win $23,000 pot. Just insane what dreams are made of, to hold up in that spot, to profit $18,000. Just incredible. I'm exhausted though. Tomorrow I'm heading to Los Angeles to play in Hustler Casino Live on Thursday, so hopefully we can keep this train rolling. It's been the best month I've ever had in poker so far, so hopefully we can keep it up. I'm grateful for you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully this video was fun. It was fun to make. Obviously winning all this money is great. We're almost to 60,000 subscribers too. Try to get me there, share to your friends. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. I'm bringing weekly content for you guys for free, poker videos just like this, but I'm gonna go home and get some sleep. I'm tired. Until next time, I'll see you.